I've been well aware of the idea of don't be greedy across the board. I think that's often what ends up happening with killing organizations is in killing businesses is that there are people that are greedy. They can't sort of say, hey, just do things just to help out other people, no matter what those things are, right? And you think about like, who is really growing in a lot of the spaces, they give a tremendous amount, and it's just kind of like, I'm just going to give. And sometimes they have that sort of right combination of taking, but the big thing is really just giving as much as they possibly can, repeatedly, making sure that they are always um, giving as much as I can and not really thinking about, we talk about monetization, right? Thinking about like how you can extract value from the things that you actually do. That's really all they're talking about when you're talking about monetization is thinking about, can I get some of the stuff that I'm creating? And, honestly, if you think about all of the things that are really growing and really taking off, they're very much just kind of on a giving sort of basis, right? You think about like Mr. Beast, for example. A lot of his stuff, the reason why people watch his stuff is that he gives away a lot of stuff. And he does a lot of contests and makes it really kooky, right? You know, he's almost like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory kind of, you know, um, perspective. And yet he's huge. Everybody knows who this person is, right? And I think in the long run, it's going to be crazy beneficial for him. And I think that's where I look around and I see almost everybody sort of missing this point. Uh, um, just across the board in any sort of sector, you know, family, whatever, right? Like, if you start just freely giving and you start doing things, and I know, and here's the thing, you're going to do it and nothing's going to happen for a very long time. But that's how you begin. That's how it happens, right? You just give freely forever, indefinitely, and you kind of get into that weird motion of it where you just don't care anymore. Of like, hey, I'm just going to do this, right? And at the beginning, the first for a long time, a very long time, nobody cares, nobody's paying attention, and I think part of it, the two sort of angles that are happening is that um, the the outside world's not going to care, right? They just sort of flat out don't care, and then who you are as a person you need a lot of work to develop, and not just a person but an organization to develop this sort of sense of let's just give, right? And figuring out how can we give, how can we sort of stretch things out, how can we do things. Let's just give as much as I possibly can, repeatedly, and getting into that mindset of what it means to actually just give and to give freely. And it doesn't matter who those people are, whether it's somebody, in another continent in a weird way, but like figuring out. So here's the thing, right? Like you got to figure out the right combination of what you're doing in terms of giving, and the sort of thing that you're actually giving that is not sort of, making you go bankrupt. Um, and but there's lots of things that you could do, especially with the online content that we have today, right? Like in the sort of content ideas, it's just giving freely is really exciting and really interesting. That it's surprising how a number of people just don't do it because they have a lot of other things that they're worried about, right? And if you start thinking about it, um, that's ultimately the reason why, people get in their minds too much, where they think about like, I can't do this. Why would anybody pay attention to it? Or they think that they're too senior or they're beyond things or whatever, right? You'd be 21 years old and people are like, I'm not going to do that. I'm too old for that kind of stuff. You're like, you're 21, like it's ridiculous. Um, and they just don't do it. And they miss out on these crazy opportunities that haven't existed ever. And the way that you get those crazy opportunities is you give repeatedly. And it's like that in anything, right? Like in any area, not just within the online, um, content area, just in life in general, just getting in that practice until it feels weird. Um, but like also turning off parts of you to care about it, right? And once you get into that sort of like, I just don't care, I'm just gonna give, or just gonna keep doing this thing. I think that's all that matters, right? And I think that really gets you to understand. Like, I think that's where it sort of gets you from here to there. Is just getting into that mode of like, I'm just gonna keep doing this, and I don't really care about what the outside world that says and does. This is something that is important to give repeatedly for a long time, over and over and over again. Um, and sort of honing that craft, figuring it out, and just getting better at it as you go. Um, I think that's it, right? Like you can, I think ultimately getting in the idea of just I'm just gonna give repeatedly changes changes things a lot, and we forget about that. So I think it's just important. Remember to get into that idea. Is I'm just going to participate in giving openly and freely all the time. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.